Hello class. In this video I'm going to be demonstrating how to cut the grooves in cardboard so that they fit together to either create a internal lattice to increase the strength of your piece, or to use it as a way of connecting pieces together if you're building a piece of furniture without any tape or glue. An example here is a model of the coffee table that I built, and each of these pieces, this is one of the feet, uses grooves both in the body of the piece and in the wraparound feet in order to hold it together. And so far, both with the model and with the coffee table, which I use, they've held together very well. If you do it accurately and well, then it makes for a nice, clean and strong form of joinery. So I've got two pieces of cardboard. They are 9 inches by 4 inches. I'm going to cut grooves in the middle of one of them so they slide together and form just an even plus sign. So the first thing you need to know before you cut a groove is how thick is the cardboard that's going to slide in. You can see I cut a groove here. You want the fit not to be so hard that you have to damage the cardboard to press it in, but also be snug enough that it takes some effort to push it in. You want it to be nice and snug. And if I were to take this in and push it in a bunch of times, slowly the cardboard would degrade and it would get looser. So it's better to be a little bit too tight with the fit than loose. If it's too loose, then it'll just wobble around and you sort of lose your strength. The other thing is generally the lattice is stronger if it's for support, if the grooves are running along with the corrugation. So the corrugation is running vertical here as my groove is. So this grid is going to be strong with pressure down on it here. You can see on my model, I'm cutting grooves at different angles, and I cut these grooves into these pieces against the corrugation, both on this model and in the final piece. So it's possible to do it both ways, but if you're building a lattice for strength, you want the grooves to go along with the corrugation so it has a lot of vertical strength. All right, so I'm going to put a groove in the dead center of this piece. It's 9 inches long, so that means at 4.5 inches, that's the center. Now I'm going to measure how thick my cardboard is. This is nice, thick, double ply stuff. And you can see right there, this is just about exactly a 1/4 inch in width. Often I will measure a couple places. Sometimes cardboard gets a little bit thinner where it's been crushed, but in the middle, it's exactly a 1/4 inch. Now, if I cut my 1/4 inch groove, it will fit nicely, but I want it to be a little bit snug, and I'll show you how I do that. Here's the 4.5 inch mark. I'm going to mark 1/8 of an inch on the either side of that to get a 1/4 inch mark. And then I want this to run exactly perpendicular to the edge of the board, so that means I need 2 measuring points to draw my straight line. Here's 4.5, the middle, 1/8 of an inch to one side, 1/8 of an inch the other. My pencil is sharp, I'm measuring carefully, and I can already see that the lines are off. These lines are off. I could see they weren't lining up. This is where they're supposed to be. You may have heard the adage, measure twice and cut once. For this particular job, that's even more important. Accuracy and precision are really important when you're sort of building aspects of your furniture. If you get in the habit of being careful with that stuff and checking your work, you'll make fewer mistakes, and overall you waste less time. So there I've got my 2 lines. They're a 1/4 inch apart. Now, because this is a 4 inch piece of cardboard, each groove is going to be 2 inches in, exactly halfway, so that when they fit together, everything is flush on both sides. And when I put it together, you'll see what I mean. But this is a 4 inch piece of cardboard, so I mark it right at 2 inches. This line I'm comfortable drawing straight. I don't need 2 measuring points for such a short line. Now we're going to cut the groove. Now in order to, if I were sloppy with cutting and made it a little bit too wide or a little bit too narrow, I'm going to have trouble. So I want to make sure that I'm cutting exactly where I want. And in order to do this, let me zoom in a little bit. I'm going to place my straight edge just on the inside of the line. So measurably, it's not much different, but it provides just enough of a difference that it will be a snug fit. Now I'm cutting right to the midway point, and you can actually, it's not a bad idea to have a little mark on the outside of the line, just where, so I can see where to stop the blade. Let me replace this. And now I don't care if I go through in 1, 2, or 3 strokes. I'll take my time, and then when I hear that I'm against my cutting board instead of cutting cardboard, I can stop. Now this is one example where, unlike usually when I cut, I put my straight edge over the material I want to protect. In this case, I'm actually putting it over the groove that I'm cutting out because I want to be able to place it right on the inside of my line and to see right where I'm cutting. And right at the top corner of the groove, I sort of plunge the knife down and then cut so that my cut stops right at the edge of the groove and I'm not cutting into any cardboard that I want to keep intact. So it's cut through on both sides. Now this, I put it right on the line. And with this, I plunge the knife down. And then, because it's such a short cut, it's hard to slice. I actually use a little sawing method. And then I flip it around to get into the other corner. And if you take the time and do this process, you can have nice, neat ends to your grooves, and that makes for a cleaner fit. You can always check the other side and see if you've cut all the way through. But if you've done it, you should be able to pull this right out. And I can feel a little bit of resistance. Oh, no, there it goes. And I can pop it right out. And that's our 1/4 inch groove there. So I have the other one cut up already. Let me back up. And now there's a nice resistance to it. I'm not crushing the cardboard, but it takes some effort to push it in. And you can tell it's good. It doesn't wiggle that much this way. The edges are nice and flush. So this would form a good interior grid to a small piece. If I repeated the grid however many times, it could provide support for the seat of a stool, the top of a table, underneath of a shelf that needed to carry a heavy load. But with the corrugation running vertically, I can put a lot of pressure on this. It's not going to buckle. It still has the tendency to fold this way, but if it's glued in or grooved into your furniture appropriately, it'll never have that pressure on it. So that's how to create a lattice for an internal grid or external joinery if you don't want to use any glue or tape in your piece. In the next series, I think the next one will be about how to create your first model from your scale drawing.